Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on December 17th, 2021 at approximately 6:32 a.m. PST. That's 6:32. Well, we are getting closer to Christmas, and this said, it is time, even for you, it's time for everybody to figure this one out. We're going into a brand new year. And as I've said, I am a spiritual guide, meaning the tools that I offer you are the same tools I personally use. But it is absolutely critical if we are going to make next year a real bonus year. We are going to have to get organized now. Now, as I said, the backbone of a family, the backbone of society is the family. Okay, the backbone of the family. And when we are talking family, to be clear, family is the people you feel closest to. They are not always bloodline. Okay. But the backbone of family is communication. The backbone of a family domicile is, frankly, the kitchen. Okay. The kitchen and dining room. That is where the backbone of communication, the backbone of love is generated. Okay. And aside from the bathroom, it happens to be the most active room in most people's houses. Even if you're a bachelor and you simply store your food in the fridge, and you go in to make it to get your own food and eat in the living room, it's still the backbone. Now that said, the backbone of the house, the backbone of the family is the kitchen. The backbone of the house is your finances. So, considering where all of this is sitting, now is the time for everybody to do their part. Okay, now I came back to this world for one primary purpose, and that was the one purpose was to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But in order to do that, I'm going to require your assistance. Now, I've been called a lot of things in my life. The funniest one in my eyes was when somebody told me that telling people to be nice to each other was was a tantamount to starting a cult. So I decided to run with it and went, well, why not? Let's start a cult. Let's start a cult where the whole backbone of it is be nice to each other, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Help everybody you can, but do not overextend yourself. Do not put yourself on the street to make sure somebody else isn't on there. It's a nice concept. Okay, and sometimes you can look at it and go, well, if I do without and I give all of my stuff to that person, then they won't be doing without, which is right. And perhaps they can handle it better than you can. But let's face it, there is no real functional reason to do that. However, you know, the reality is the way you start with the backbone is this. Figure out what it's going to cost you. Now, I was running through it this morning and I'm still working out the finals to it, but given that my rent comes out of a minimum account, okay, no matter how much money is in that minimum account, okay, it's going to cost me service charges. So I am making certain, absolutely certain, that by the end of this month, because of where I've let things get to, it's time to turn things around. First rule of thumb, take your area, wherever you work on your finances, get it straight, get it cleaned up so that it is absolutely rock solid and easy to run with. Okay, I'll be working on mine that and once I get done this video. That's the next step on my list, I think. Should be. Turn that around, and this is that fine. Oh, of course, I got my finances listed there, but so it will be done because I gotta go through the bank anyway. But I've got a note here, so we deal with the office next. See, I've already got a few things on the list, but you get your finances balanced. It is absolutely imperative to get the energy in your office working properly so that the backbone of your household can run. Okay. So you start with that. Now, once I get that done, I'll get the finances sorted out. Yeah, I'll have to do it in that order, in spite of the order I wrote it down in. Bear in mind, the list simply helps keep you focused. You're aiming at changing your life for what you consider the better. It is imperative you keep it straight, and that's where writing the list down comes. Now, the list is simple. You put three things on it. Okay. Make sure they are 15-minute to half-hour tasks. You write them down, and when you get one done, check it off and add a third one to the bottom. Okay. Now, the nice part about it is, right now I'm recording the journey. Okay. Obviously. So I've already got the next three things listed. The next three things that I've got on my list are to get it posted, which will take me about 5 minutes after I'm done this. Then I've got to do the office, get it sorted out, and that's really not that much. Okay, I've kept things pretty stable, and then I will deal with the finances. What comes after that, right now, I don't know. But I worked it out, and this is the way I worked it out. My rent comes out of a minimum account, so the minimum account has to have the money for the service charges, because I don't feel like utilizing the overdraft on it. Okay, I just don't want to go there. I think I've got an overdraft on that. Might be on the other one. But in any event, I don't want to go into my overdraft. However, I've got a credit card that I will be running my utilities, my food, my transport, all of that will go through the credit card. Right. So the way I've laid it out, I know what I've got coming in, but what I require to run my house, okay, is only $2,000. Now, do understand, part of that $2,000 is savings for down the road for me to have a holiday if I ever figure out what one looks like. And really, when you think about it, what's a holiday for me? Oh, I know what a holiday would be for me. Is if I don't record the journey for a week. That would be a week's holiday. Because the reality, of course, that's not likely to happen either. But I don't travel. I barely leave my house. Like I said, I'm very reclusive. But get your office working. Now, I've talked in another video called on a topic of feng shui. Now, feng shui is literally energy redirection. Okay, and I will go into that again as we go along. But get your office set up. You can go back into the journey in an earlier rendition of it, in an earlier episode, or earlier vlog, I think. Yeah, that came out well. And look up feng shui, and I explain there how it works. Now, here's the thing: you get that organized, and then your office runs. You can get your finances in order. Now, the backbone of your house is ready. Then you start on the rest of it. Now, starting immediately, that $2,000 that I require. Okay, and I might decide to up that by the end of the day. I may up that to 25 just to make sure that I have comfortable room for. As a matter of fact, I think that's the best idea. So I think I'll do that right now. That minimum that I've got to have in my account, because the thing is, helping people is a good thing. The church got the concept right when they said tithing. The government got the concept right when they said taxes are necessary. Okay, because if you don't agree with taxes, I agree. The distribution of them is insane because all things have to apply to everybody equally. The amount of money you've got should not dictate whether you've got special privileges. It should certainly dictate whether or not you can buy more stuff. But here's the thing. If you're barely scraping by and bread is, never mind whether it's a good price and you're paying $3 for bread, okay, then if you're really poor, you have enough money to buy one loaf of bread. If you're really wealthy, you might be able to buy 10 loaves of bread. Of course, just exactly how you're going to use that without it going bad is another question. Okay, so the more money you have, yes, you should be able to buy more stuff, and you should not have to, when I talk about having the money there to live your life your way, understand entertainment is a very necessary and very important aspect. Now, here's what you do. Your paycheck comes in. And bear in mind, even if you're on social assistance of some form, social assistance, welfare, don't care what it is, medical assistance, even if you're doing what many people erroneously call living off the government, you still have the same set of responsibilities. Yes, you've got a lower income. Absolutely. And it is not enough to live on in my eyes. But even with that, you too have the same responsibility. Okay. So you take that money and you go, okay. So let's say your entertainment bill, because you like going on holidays, you like being able to go to the movies. So let's say you've got an entertainment budget that says you've got to have $5,000 for you to live. Not my call. What is my call and what I'm asking you to do when I ask you to join me on this journey to make this world a better place is if 5,000 is what you require, including that in that entertainment field. Okay, absolutely. Keep it. But set that $5,000. Then what I'm doing, I've worked it out. I can do it on 2,500 very comfortably. So everything over that 2,500 per month, I'm going to take 10% of that and put it aside. That 10%, because I agree with the tithing, I agree with the taxes, and I'll get back to the taxes in a minute. Tithing, the church got it right at 10% of your income. Well, more to the point, they said 10% of your income. I'm saying 10% of your surplus. You set the bill on what you require. Okay. But you take a look at not the bare minimum, we're talking the comfortable. I can do it on 2, but I'm going to set my bare minimum right now at 25. Okay. Now, over the course of the year, my rent, it's already locked in for a year, so I know it's staying the same, and the rest is in my control. Utility bills are in my control, how much I spend, how much I utilize. But you take 10% of what is in over time, what comes in over that minimum that you'd set up. I'm putting the 10% aside, and come the end of the year, I'm going to be taking 12 Christmas cards and taking that bank of 12. Now here's where it gets a little funny. Let's say I have, just for simplicity's sake, let's say I managed to put $1,200 aside. Okay, that means I've got a 12 Christmas cards that have $100 each in them. Okay. Now here's the thing. I said you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Energy out, energy in, and remember the other one. Be true to yourself first. So that savings, that $100 that goes into the Christmas cards. The first one of those Christmas cards is going into my pocket. Regardless of how it gets split up, it'll get split up 12 ways equally. The first one of them will end up in my pocket and go straight into savings. Okay. Now, this is my way of making certain I get savings put aside as well, on top of what I'm doing. Okay. So come the end of the year, now, I pick Christmas very simply. Okay, it's a globally recognized time of year, whether you think you celebrate it or you think you don't. And yes, I put it that way very intentionally, and I may get to that sometime. But when it comes to Christmas, it's a time that I personally chose as a good way to look at it. You could call it the end of the year. I'm calling it Christmas. Okay, because Christmas is the one time that, like it or not, and I saw this really easily and really emphatically a couple of years ago. If you go to hand somebody money and go, here, this is for you just because, everybody goes, what the heck are you doing? If you hand them a Christmas card and walk off and it's got money in it, okay, then what happens is they go, thanks for the Christmas card, and carry on. So I will be, at the end of the year, I will take that 12. The first one goes in my pocket. The other 12 the other 11 will be going to people I run into on the street, people I run into at the mall. Of course, understand being rather reclusive, the mall is not the place I hang out. So I will simply be going there and handing it out. And it's just that simple. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to think it's right. Now, that being said, this is the way I'm doing it. It's the way I encourage you to do it. Even if you're running a household and a business are the same as far as financial obligation goes. The office, the finances are what run the thing. Now, it requires exorbitant amounts of money to run many businesses. So here's what you do. Take a look at your bottom line. What does it cost you to comfortably run that business? And of course, where it comes to businesses, we also have to remember there's this thing called emergency funding. So with that in mind, now here's where the tithing comes in, here's where the taxes come in. The churches seem to tell you 10% of your income. I'm telling you that's a bad idea. First and foremost, they are also a business. Okay, they too require money to run their building and what have you. I have no problem with that. They've got their expenses. And I encourage churches to do exactly the same thing. You're all in this in exactly the same fashion. We are all here, right now. This is the only time in existence when you can change the way your world is working. But it is up to you to do your part to do so. This is just a framework to work with. Now, the idea, I'm telling you, 10% of your income to the church is insane in my eyes. Okay, it is just bizarre. 10% of your surplus, absolutely I agree with. But here's why I will not give to a church. I will not give to a registered charity. The overhead, and they run their cost of administration on the donations. Okay. It's also why I never would look at opening a non-profit society. Okay, but anyway, the overhead, the cost of administration, they run out of those donations. In other words, they're asking you donate to us so we can help the poor or we can help whatever this project is, but you're going to foot the bill for my administration costs. Now, I refuse to do that, which is why I'm putting the money aside. Okay, now if you think about it, the best charity I ran into, okay, and I forget what the name of it was offhand, but 30% of what they're asking you to help them donate, 30% of that goes to their administration costs. Or sorry, 70% of it goes to their administration costs. Which means you give them $100 and only 30 of it is actually going to the charity. The other 70 is going to their pocket. I won't do it. Okay. If I take that $100 and I give it to a stranger, that granted I won't get to the big projects. I won't. I know this, at least not yet. But if I take that $100 and I give it to a total stranger, 100% of that goes to them. The administration cost of running my office is already covered. I've already dealt with it. Okay. Will I be figuring out down the road how I can take money, how I can look at other people's input? If people decide to join on and go, look, you're handling this, how can I help? I am working out a way that I can figure out how to make that work properly. Realistically, the simple answer is this. Any money that people decide they're going to help me with will go into that same pot. I won't get a plugged in. Well, I'll end up with, like I said, I'll end up with 1/12 of it, right, at the end of the year. But, and I mean, I might just as well be straightforward about it. The way I figure it, leaving things in the dark is absolutely insane. It leaves way too many, um, way too many possibilities for problems. But I will be taking that money, and 100% of that money will go to people. Okay, I'm not taking the administration cost out of it. So from my standpoint, That's why I will not deal with, will not donate to churches. I will not donate to the registered charities because all of the money does not go to the people. Okay, they're not handling the business properly in my eyes. Now, with that in mind, okay, I mentioned taxes, that I do agree with them, and here's why. I don't know about you, but I do know from my standpoint, the idea of paying taxes, I don't like paying taxes, and the tax scale is insane. Okay, the tax scale in my eyes should be a flat rate. Here's a percentage of what it is. I mean, some people would call it a user tax. But I don't know about you. I personally look at it and go, I like having paved roads. Okay, I do. I can't afford to pave the road around me. And the government has to, a government is necessary. In order to run a civilization, you have to have a governmental body. It stands to reason. And no, it doesn't necessarily do things the way you'd like it to. I have lots of problems with the idea of what governments are doing. Absolutely insane amounts of problems. Why do you think I became reclusive? Actually, it was the people I became reclusive because of. But you take that, and the taxes that they make, they do things like keep the power supply running. Picture how much light you'd have if there wasn't an infrastructure based on taxes that was handling those bills and those expenses. Those expenses. You know, Picture how much fun it would be if you were living in the dark, in the cold, because the government wasn't actually collecting enough money. One person cannot handle it. Okay. And that includes the millionaires. It's funny, I was talking to somebody the other day, and then I was talking to somebody. Somebody mentioned the idea that, if the multi-billionaires were to give, or like there's a chap that just got that is now making $1 trillion a year. And the guy turned around and he says, that trillionaire, if he were to give $1 billion to every person on the planet, nobody would be in debt. Well, at $1 trillion a year, he doesn't make that much money. Because understand, there are 7.8 billion people roughly on the planet. At 7.8 billion people, then, and I can't give you the number, I've never worked it out. One day maybe I will, but not likely anytime soon. If everybody on Earth were to be given $1 billion, okay, that's a billion times 7.8 billion. That's way more than a trillion. Okay, but the principle is right. If everybody, and I mean everybody, this includes the people that are running multi-million-dollar companies. Okay, you figure out what your comfortable baseline is, and the easiest way to make it comfortable is figure out what you require, what is absolutely necessary, and add to that 25 to 50% on top of it to give you that buffer room. Make sure you keep that as it comes in and take that 10% I'm talking about over top of that bottom line. If everybody were to do that, then we and give that to the people that require it. Now, obviously, when I'm talking about helping people, the reason I said I'll be going into the mall is because you don't find people that are absolute uncontrolled drug addicts in the mall. Okay. You may run into them. There's a possibility you run into full blown alcoholics that all they're going to do is drink the money, or all they're going to do is use it on drugs. You cannot gauge necessarily which ones, but you can certainly look at it. Okay, it does having it inside a mall or having it near a strip mall. When I go and find people, okay, I won't go down to the park and find people to do it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm not stupid. A lot of the people living on the street, first of all, have no way of compensating with that. Second of all, you give somebody too much money all in one shot. And it's a proven fact that lottery, people that win the lottery, win a major lottery, it's already a proven fact that most of them, the massive majority, are in worse shape 3 years after they make a major lottery win than they were beforehand. Okay. So, and understand when I'm giving out the money, it's a simple issue of here's the money, do with it what you will, but it's cash. It's not coupons to my company. It's not a discount to my store. This is going to be cash. Here you go, deal with what you will. Okay. Now, if everybody were to do that, a lot of what are known as the working poor would be a lot better off. But it requires all of our work together. And this is the journey I'm asking you to help me with. This massive project. Now, I got everything worked out, from that standpoint. I know where I'm heading. I've got major projects on the go. I've got major endeavors laid out. And today is when I get everything sorted out. So by the end of the year, I can go, here's what I'm starting with. Here's the amount that I've got in my hand. And now I can move forward knowing exactly where I'm standing. Do I have to explain it? No, this is to share with you a tool that I personally use. Okay. And this is the thing about I've taken the title of spiritual guide. Well, the reality is, in my eyes, if I'm going to suggest this is the path to go on, if it applies to me, I best be using it. Otherwise, it falls under the category of do what I say, not what I do. These are the tools I personally use. These are the philosophies I personally live by. Okay. Now, I do hope to see you joining in on this because I know for an absolute certainty that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody, in spite of the mess that we've got ourselves into. And you'll notice I said we. I did not say the elites, the government, the people and the rich people. Everybody on this planet is responsible for the mess this world is in right now, and therefore it is everybody's responsibility to change it. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to bring this to a close, and I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.